What you're looking at in this photograph is my deck after I refinished it back in 2016. It took me several weeks to do this because of the size of it, and I'm going to go into some of the things I used back then to get it looking like this. And so it's a lot of work, and it might be something you might want to consider hiring someone else to do, but if you do that, you're really going to want to get a professional because, I mean, you could spend a lot of money having someone come out and do this, and then they actually tear the deck up or not do it the right way. And so it's just really a lot of money just thrown down the drain. Now, this is also a good time of the year to maybe consider building a deck too, because the lumber is going to be mostly fresh if you buy it new from the Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever. And also, it put it about the right time span for it to be sealed later on. Really, you want to wait about a year, and sometimes maybe longer before you actually want to clean it and seal it. Now, a lot of the deck is going to depend on how shaded it is and how sunny it is, and both have somewhat of an effect. If it has a lot of shade, which of course is going to have trees, well, then that's going to create probably leaves to fall down on your deck, and if you let them pile up like you see in this photograph here, what'll happen is it'll just start rotting it out. You can't let any kind of debris stand on your deck, and you can see this is where they cleaned it off, but this was an inspection I did, and these boards were rotted, and also they were lifted too. I don't know if you could see it in the right corner. And so the worst thing that you can do to your deck is to allow debris to stand on it. And so you can see in this photograph we've got fungus issues going on. Now, if it's got a lot of direct sunlight, it's not likely you're going to have this problem. Gutters can be an issue as well. You can see that white line going down the deck right there. That's where water's starting to come off the roof line. And it actually can sort of pit that wood too. It can actually dig into it and create a little trough. And so you might want to consider putting up gutters around your house if you're having this issue right here. Now, generally speaking, most treated lumber is not rated for direct ground contact. Only posts are treated to that degree. Now, you can have it treated to that level. It has to be special ordered either through the lumber company that you deal with or direct from the treatment plant. And also, you can see this is the right way to do it too. You know, that these really should rest down to a concrete platform if you have steps going down, because there again, if it's making ground contact, it's going to just rot it out. Now, another problem decks have, and this is something that you might not even be aware of yourself, is that if you have a deck that comes out off the back of your house, well, water still goes through the bottom of the deck, and not only that, but nothing can grow up underneath it because it's too shaded. And so over time, it'll start washing away the soil from under the deck. And you can see this air conditioner standing on a pedestal from being washed out over the years. And so the best way to mitigate this problem is to do, like I say in this next photograph, get some large irregular sized rocks, not river rocks, not those round ones. Get these. This is number 4 slag. It's actually used for the railroad. You can get these delivered to you by the dump truck load. That's 25 tons. Or you can get them delivered by the trailer load. And you can pretty much go to Facebook Marketplace to find the people that deliver this to you. You can also go look it up on Google too for gravel suppliers. If you need a lot of it, that's going to be the best way to do it. Give you a general cost on this. 25 tons, when I bought about a year ago, was around $1,200. But I've also seen we can get about 6 tons delivered, anywhere from $300 to $400. And so this is a picture after got all that rock put up underneath the deck. And I also rented a bobcat to do that. It took me a couple of days. And it saved me quite a bit of money too, but I haven't had any more erosion problems as a result of that. Now, another thing that you might want to take into consideration as well is the top of your post. Now, even though posts are treated for ground contact, they will rot at the top. And they make these, this is a bad mistake here, they make these wood caps that you can put on. You can see where this one's just rotted in half. Well, really the thing to do is to use copper caps, and I've noticed at some of the local hardware stores that they make these copper caps, but they got a darn wood base to the bottom of them, so that's really not accomplishing anything at all. They do make just plain copper caps for these in the 4x4 and 6x6, and so I recommend you put them on the top of your post to keep them from rotting from the top side down. That's a picture of one right there on a 4x4. Now, going back there again to these posts, we're looking at 6x6 treated posts, and these are treated for ground contact, but it's kind of, you're relying upon the expertise and how well the treatment company performed their work. Because you can see right there in the bottom, you can see where the bottom of this post has started to rot. And so this is something you might want to check your post for when you're out there doing a general inspection on your deck to see if you got any rot going on at the lower ground level. You'll have to dig down to see if you can find this. Now, another destructive pest to decks, and mine was being no exception except for the ones that's got the CCA treatment, which I'll get into in a second, is carpenter bees. They will just turn your deck into lunch. And so I found the best way to deal with these is with these carpenter bee traps. You can actually make these. This is just 1 year and one trap. It was almost nearly slammed full of these carpenter bees. That's them all laid out there. Okay, now that goes back to the bee thing. Chromated copper arsenic. Now that was the early treatment, also known as CCA. I used to sell this stuff when I worked at the building supply company. And I can't remember when they stopped using this, but my deck was built around 95, and so it had this in it. But I also expanded the deck over the years, and so I've got a good test going on back here in my own backyard. I found that the decking that has the CCA treatment, well, carpenter bees won't go in that, but the newer treatment they will go into. And so that's what you'd see right there is those yellow tags. That was on the back of these CCA treated lumber boards. Womanize was one company, I think, that made these. Now, here is the new, still using the yellow tags, by the way, but this is a different type of treatment. It's not the CCA. It's micronized copper azole. And so, in my opinion, this just isn't as good as the old CCA treatment. That's just based on my own experience with it. Now, know this too. You can also get, like I said earlier, different levels of this treatment done if you wanted to use some of these dimensional boards for ground contact. You could have it treated to that degree. You could see that this was treated 0.15, and so they make this in different treatment levels. Now you can see what I've had to do to mitigate some of these carpenter bees. I've had to take and use spray foam to fill their holes, and I also found that that some spray foams would not work. They'll actually just dig the foam out, and so that's why they make all these different brands of foam and also different types. The one on the far left is called Pest Block, and that's what I used here the last time. And so the jury's still out on this. I have to wait and see until next spring if they're going to be able to dig that out. Now, another thing that will definitely harm your deck is having contents directly stored on top of it. And what will happen is it just create a moisture trap underneath it. And so I got a little bit creative here, and I bought these bed risers. I think I got them from the thrift store. I think I got another set from a yard sale. And I just screwed these to the bottom of these deck boxes. And the good thing about this, it allows me to blow the leaves out from under it too. So if the deck gets dirty, I can actually blow out from underneath it. This is a closer up photograph. It almost looks like it was made for it. Okay, now we're looking at other potential problems that I've seen some other people do. They'll put roofs under their decks. And so what'll happen is this can create a moisture trap underneath it and rot the deck from the bottom side up. And I've also seen repairs where they've used plywood And even if it's treated plywood, it will rot just like this because it's laminated. Now, if you're going to do a roof system underneath there, it really should be pitched like this here, so it can get plenty of air circulation under it and also water runoff on the rooftop. Now, if you have to replace any boards, there's a certain way that you should put them down. What we're looking at is the very top board here. You can see how it's the crest of the curvature of the grain in here should really be just like that at the top. Now the bottom board would be wrong. You want to be flipped around like the top board if you're going to be placing it down, because this will keep it from cupping or help mitigate that potential issue. Screws are another important thing with your deck. I've seen some people just use drywall screws, which is certainly going to rot out or rust out pretty quickly. And so any type of fasteners that you use, you're going to want to use weather rated fasteners, and in some cases you might want to pre-drill the hole to prevent the splitting in the spindle here in this case. And so these are pretty good deck screws here. These are weather rated. They're self-tapping, and also too, if you're going to be using these for deck boards, they're going to need to be a little bit longer than 1 1/4 inches, especially if it's 5/4 inch boards. More than likely, you might want to go with 1 3/4. Okay, now let's get to the deck cleaning part of it. And so this is not too fun if you got a big deck, and probably the thing to do if you do have a large deck is to maybe just do this in quarters. And the time to really do this is to try to plot out the weather to see what's going on with it. Really the best time to do it is right after it rains, and you know you're going to be getting about a week of dry weather coming up, because you're going to want this lumber as dry as possible before you actually seal it. So this is Clorox. It's actually a brand name. Clorox and bleach, all it is a chemical called sodium hypochlorite, and it's around 4 to 6% when you get it off the shelf. And this stuff degrades relatively quick, so this is something you don't want to stockpile and keep on hand, because the older it gets, the less powerful it becomes. In fact, it can even get down to the point where you can actually drink it. So this is, I wouldn't do it, but I'm just saying this stuff gets weaker by the month, so it's not something you want to store. The better option, in my opinion, is if you have an Ace Hardware, is you can go there with an approved container, of course, and buy pure sodium hypochlorite. It's around 10%, a little bit stronger. So it's about double the strength of off-the-shelf Clorox of bleach. And like there again, this is a tag that they put on the container there, labeling that this is what's in there. It has to be in either approved container, or they have to mark this container that that's what's in it. Trisodium phosphate is another good cleaning product to mix in with your solution. I'm not going to get into how to mix all that stuff up, but I just know that trisodium phosphate, sodium hypochlorite mixed with water is a good solution for cleaning decks. Now, also too, you've got a lot of store-bought stuff like 30-second outdoor cleaner. Here's another one, wet and forget. The wet and forget works pretty good if you're just wanting to do this during the spring and summertime, but I don't recommend any of these if you're trying to do a deep cleaning of your deck prior to staining it. Now, the power washer is a little bit subjective as well, but not only that, it can actually damage your deck boards. Some of these are really powerful, and it can really mess up the surface of it. So you really want to exercise caution if you're planning on using a power washer like this. And sometimes it's best just to hire a power washing company to come out, but it doesn't need to be some jackleg running around in a pickup truck with one of these on the back of it, because they can destroy your deck as well. You really should hire a true professional to do this. One is I know of that is in the local area is Integrity Power Washing. He's been doing it a long time. They're also not going to be the cheapest guys because of that, because they have a lot of equipment, a lot of knowledge, and a lot of other things that they use to do this the right way without damaging your property. Now, here we go again with the weather. And so this is what we want to look for. We want to try to get as many dry days as possible before you actually put down your sealant or whatever it is you plan to use. The longer the better. And so you might want to get one of these moisture testers, these pen types. They're not that expensive. You want to measure your lumber, every day and try to get it as to the driest point as possible before you put down your sealant. Now, you also want to keep aware that the rain may be coming up as well too. So you got to kind of time this right. Now, what I used on my deck back in 2016 was Ready Seal. It held up really well. But there's others out there that's probably as good as this. There may even be some others out there that's better than this. I think Cabot's is pretty good. I think Lowe's sells that. But I would take the time, since I haven't done it since 2016, to go and research some of these others online to see if there might be some others out there that are potentially better than this. Well, there's one product that I don't recommend, and that's Thompson's Water Seal. I've never had good luck with that product. In fact, I think the last time I used it, it only lasted about 6 months. But it's possible they may have better products than the one I used. But take the time to look at your deck and try to do your own evaluation for safety issues. And because deck failures are very common, and a lot of people get hurt and killed every year as a result of it. And here's a good example there. You can see that there's balusters there. They should be no further than 4 inches apart where you see those red balls for child safety, because kids can get through that, and you might not have any, but there may come a time where some come to your home, and this could pose a pretty big safety risk to them. So you have to look out for not only your own safety, but the safety of others as well. And one of the biggest problems I found during the course of a lot of my inspections were the improper handrails. What you're looking at is 5/4 by 6 deck, and that's actually just a deck board that they use for the railing, because it kind of matches up with the 6x6 post and it looks good, but it's not graspable. I now have big hands, and it's really not even graspable for me. And so really this is the right way to do this type of hand railing. And I built this myself. I've got an episode on. I used galvanized pipe to do it. But this is now a graspable railing, and you really need it for the purpose, because these steps get wet, they get slippery, and they get even more slippery if they get any type of fungus on them. And so this is really a big hazard facing your deck, especially here in South Alabama where we get so much moisture. And I'm going to be doing a separate episode on deck safety. I've got several of them up already where I touched on different things that I pointed out during the course of an inspection. But I want to consolidate those to one video because this is such a big issue. We have decks have collapsed right around here, right in my own neighborhood. And so even though they've been done, or supposedly done, by a qualified contractor, they were still wrong, and they collapsed as a result. And so that's why it's important that you maintain your deck, do the things that you can do as far as preserving the wood that's on there, but also, look out for potential safety issues as well. I still encourage you to go look at those videos I have, even though I haven't put this consolidated one up. Thanks for watching, guys, and I hope this has been informative. Enjoy the fall.